And good afternoon. This is Thomas Grant. Due to some of the technical difficulties with the recorded interview with Ryan Showstall, I am making a post today kind of highlighting some of the major differences, and I wanted to also do a little quick video just going over, from my recollection, what happened, and with the, using the Village of Lakeview statement from Solicitor Lynette Dinkler as a reference point. So we're just going to go ahead and do that again real quick. I'm not going to read through it like I did before, but I do want to just kind of do a general overview. Here, let's see here. The first thing that the former mayor had issue with, and I will read directly from the report. Spring was the subject of an investigation under the former mayor that lasted 30 months for unknown reasons. And the former mayor said that is completely false. It was a 2-month investigation regarding the workplace environment. It was not just a hostile work environment charge, it was just the workplace environment. So the fact that they stated there was a 30-month investigation for unknown reasons, the former mayor said that is a complete and utter falsehood. He found out about it in January of 23, and I believe February, and within 2 months, the investigation was over. So, it was February 23 is when this happened, when Assistant Fire Chief Dan Deffenbaugh resigned, and they had the results April 15th. So 2-month investigation. 2-month, 30-month. I mean, that is a big difference, and I cannot understand how Lynette Dinkler could make that kind of an egregious error. Okay, that's just, it does not make any sense. And we go down to the few paragraphs down. It said Assistant Fire Chief Dan Deffenbaugh resigned, and the reasons underlying that resignation ignited an investigation into the leadership of the fire department. On April 17th, former Mayor Showstall and Village Council presented Spring with a 2-page document ordering him to start disciplining his staff, blah, blah, blah. And the former mayor said, no, we didn't order him. We recommended that certain changes be done, but we did not order him to do that. So that is just, that's an inaccurate statement. So, again, why would you say it like that? I mean, why would you say he was ordered to do it versus he was recommended to do it? I would think, in my mind, if you say that he was ordered to do it, then you could say he was not doing as he was ordered and would make him look less professional. But he was not ordered to make these changes. It was just recommended. Let's see here. There's another thing. Okay. Spring is ordered to establish and implement modern-day policies to govern fire department operations. Former Chief Spring failed during his tenure as fire chief to take accountability to establish proper policy as mandated by Ohio law. Now, the former mayor said also that the fire department was always operating under Ohio law. They were never outside of the legal standards. Okay, so that right there implies that the fire department was not operating in a legal way under Chief Spring, and the former mayor said that is not true. It was operating just fine. And this whole thing about, the policies implemented by Lakeview Fire Department under Spring's command is so old it is printed on a dot matrix printer. Okay, give me a break. Stop that. That's just being ridiculous. Shawstall's investigation also revealed training protocols and schedules were found to be lacking. No, that's not, the former mayor said that's not the case. The fire department up there is extremely well trained. They just wanted to have documentation of what training is happening and who's going to be involved with that training. It was more for record keeping issues. It was not they aren't being properly trained. Again, they're using the statement to try to paint former Chief Spring in a very negative way, but the former mayor is saying that fire department was always training, they trained all the time, and they were always compliant with Ohio law. So anything suggesting otherwise is not true. So that's where we are with that. Let's see here. Talking about reestablishing the implementation of a proper chain of command. There was, you had the assistant chief Deffenbaugh who resigned. There was some positions of authority that needed to be filled. Assistant chiefs, and I think maybe a captain, or maybe one of the captains were going to be moved up. Either way, there needed to be some hierarchy established. They had lost some people recently at this time, and he had not filled those positions. And mainly, the impression I got was, for when Chief Spring is not around, they needed to have, a chain of command to know who was in charge and who can make decisions in the absence of Chief Spring. And before, you establish leadership like assistant chiefs, the way it was handled before was the person on scene with the most years as a volunteer firefighter would then be in charge. And they wanted to have something a little more structured than that. And that's all. And he did immediately, not long after that, appoint 2 assistant fire chiefs for the department. So that was pretty, the fact that, they're painting it out like he was living under this no chain of command forever is not accurate. The former fire chief, assistant chief resigned. That's what instigated the investigation. You see, the former chief was directed to communicate open and forthright. And, the former mayor said that, the communication was fine. There was just some other things that needed to work on. It was nothing egregious from the way it was explained to me. And needing legislative approval before the chief could legally purchase equipment. Remember, he can't purchase anything. He has to have approval from the village. He has to have a check written by the person, the treasurer or whatever they call them there, fiscal officer. They're the ones that write the checks. The chief of the fire department could not write checks or purchase anything without the permission and approval of the mayor and the council. And the fiscal officer is the one that actually writes these checks, and they require multiple signatures before they can be cashed. So that's, he was not just going out there on a willy-nilly purchasing equipment. That is completely misleading. The biggest thing that I got from the former chief or the former mayor was that Chief Spring, he was a mechanic on fire trucks. He worked on fire trucks, and as his profession, where he got paid for, and he would work on the equipment of the fire department. And during the course of that, he would just go buy the part he needs, he would have needed, and fix the equipment to make sure it's road legal and ready to be serviced or ready for service. And then he would turn in those receipts to the fiscal officer of the village, and then they would have to reimburse him. And what they were asking him was to get a PO, purchase order, prior to purchasing these parts. Again, it wasn't that he was doing anything egregious or whatever, that they just wanted to implement a PO system to where when he was purchasing parts, he had to get a purchase order for that. If you've worked in any kind of service-based industry, that is the natural way things are done. I used to be an inventory specialist for a heavy equipment shop. I understand purchase orders. I get it. He was buying stuff out of his own pocket so stuff could be repaired and ready for service. And they said from now on, you need to start getting permission beforehand. Pretty simple stuff. Very misleading. Now, we go down here, it says, Spring demonstrates he has no respect for HIPAA-protected information by publicly discussing his predecessor's health information during a recent interview posted online. It was actually posted on YouTube, so that is online, but No HIPAA violation. Number one, the former chief he was discussing his health information about, which all he said was, the former chief had a stroke and that's how I became the chief. I asked him the question, okay? I mean, give me a break. The former chief is deceased. He's no longer alive. So there's no HIPAA violation. And this lawyer would know that. There's no way she did not know that what she put right there was completely false. You have to wonder why are they putting out false information? You know, it looks like they're just trying to paint Mayor Showstall and Chief Spring in a very negative light. And this isn't my personal feelings. This is just what we're looking at. They put out this big statement by the Lakeview solicitor, Lynette Dinkler. She would have had to have researched everything she was putting in here. And you would think they would make sure what they're putting on paper and what they're having printed on these news websites would be accurate information. And we find one thing after another, that it's not just, kind of not true or, gray area. No, like blatantly lying on many occasions throughout this statement they put out. I think the most damning thing they said that is just crazy is this says, to further set the record straight, Spring failed to report the incoming tornado. He reportedly videoed heading into town from the firehouse to the Logan County Emergency Agency, EMA. They forgot management. Point of fact, when Administrator Dave Scott called Logan County EMA Director Helen at 8:15 p.m. on March 15th, the tornado was March 14th. So I'm guessing either their statement was inaccurate or they're talking the day after. I don't know. If it's the day of, there's no way Dave Scott could have called out at 8:15 p.m. Up at Lakeview. The cell phone service was down. I mean, and most of you who live up there know that. I find it hard to believe that literally 45 minutes after the tornado hit the area, Dave Scott's calling the Logan County EMA director. Now, if he called her March 15th the next day, okay, I'm just not quite sure if that was a misprint or not. Either way, they're saying that Chief Spring did not report the tornado. I have had many people, and when I say many, I mean well over a dozen people have come out to me privately and said that is not true. I heard him call it on the radio, someone said. Chief Spring was, manning the radios, and he got on the radio and said there's a tornado, en route, it's coming right now, whatever. But he reported the tornado. And for this statement to pretend he did not, or imply that he did not report a tornado, is a bold-faced lie. And supported by eyewitnesses and ear witnesses who heard him on the radio. So this statement here, I don't understand how that could have been vetted or checked out. It's not true. I did not hear it. I'm not in emergency services. People who are in emergency services have told me this is not accurate. Chief Spring was on the radio. He was advising everyone what was happening. We sent an email to the EMA director, Helen, to see if we can get her perspective of what was released here. Because, this is pretty damaging information. And I've been hearing, that it's not accurate by many people. And I'm believing, if you look at the facts of what the previous statement has said and how much of this statement is not accurate, it would not be that big of a stretch to think that this is not accurate. And we know that Chief Spring was manning the radio well after midnight that night, March 14th of the tornado, into March 15th. People heard him all the time. People heard him on the radio. He was helping coordinate the search and rescue efforts going on. So to even imply that he was not working with other departments is a lie. I mean, people told me they were in the city or the village of Lakeview literally an hour and a half after the tornado hit, if not sooner, and there was multiple different agencies already within the village of Lakeview helping with the recovery and search and rescue efforts. It wasn't just Lakeview Fire Department, it was other fire departments from other areas responding to the scene. And they were working in coordination with Chief Spring and the Lakeview Fire Department. So to imply that he did not ask for or request any help or accept any help from outside agencies, that's not true. Many people visually seen other agencies in the village the night of the tornado. So I don't understand where they get that from. Now here, towards the end, it says, on March 17th, Mayor Fagan Moore asked her subordinate, Chief Spring, for a basic update on his response to the disaster. And Village Administrator Scott was also there. Neither the mayor nor the administrator have an understanding as to why Spring refused to provide the mayor with an update and have an understanding as to why law enforcement was dispatched to this meeting. Now, we've had numerous people talk about this to us who were there. They said this meeting was not about that. The meeting was because the fire department was housing donated goods at the fire department, and the mayor wanted that stuff moved. I'm not just taking Chief Spring's word on this. We've heard from other people who were there. They heard the conversations. The mayor went down there because she was angry they didn't move the donated goods. And the chief said, we're not moving it. And that's where the anger came from. And at some point during that conversation, she was yelling loud enough for people outside of where they were at to hear her yell about, your fighters need to respect me. That's what ear witnesses and eyewitnesses have told me. That was a big part of her anger, was you people need to respect me. And from what I understand from other people who were there, I think the chief possibly said, it is reported that he said at that point something along the lines of, if you want my firefighters' respect, you have to earn it. And then the yelling and screaming got to be to the point where people were concerned that something negative could possibly happen. And they contacted the Logan County Sheriff's Office. Now ask yourself, why would people contact the Sheriff's Office knowing if the Sheriff's Office shows up and it's, and you're just lying, you're going to look pretty foolish, right? You're only going to contact the Sheriff's Department 2 days after a freaking tornado, when there's still search and recovery efforts going on and there's still a lot of stuff happening at that point in time. The Sheriff's Department is swamped with work just like fire departments are. Do you really think they're just going to call the Sheriff's Department and ask them for help because because they don't want to talk to the mayor? Now, give me a break. That explanation by the Village of Lakeview's solicitor is ridiculous. It is a concerted effort to make Chief Spring look ignorant, incompetent, disrespectful, and quite frankly, a hazard to the safety of the fire department and the public. That's their goal. All right, and we've heard stories of other things happening as of last week that we cannot go into detail about, but I don't know what to make of all of this. It does not make any sense. Now, we did send an email to the solicitor, and we included Mayor Moore into in that email to ask for comment about all these discrepancies. And I'm sure they're not going to respond, but hopefully they do. If they don't respond to me, hopefully they will respond to somebody in the public, in the community. There's a meeting April 6th, right? That's the next meeting. I highly suggest, if you want answers about what's going on, I think a lot of people need to go to this meeting. Honestly, it needs to happen. Why are people lying? And why are people, doing this? If Chief Spring was that bad, was that horrible of a fire chief, why would so many of his current volunteers resign with him? In any position of leadership, you're going to have people that like the guy in charge or girl in charge, and you're going to have people who don't like whoever is in charge. Right? That's just natural. Not all personalities get along. But ask yourself this. If Chief Spring is this guy that the Village of Lakeview is telling you he is, then why would so many of his firefighters resign because he's no longer there? Common sense will tell you they're resigning because they support Chief Spring and they don't support the current mayor and the current leadership at the fire department with Chief Spring gone. It's not rocket science, people. It's really quite simple. We will follow up on all of this. Again, I apologize for the interview with the mayor, former mayor, because I have no clue why the audio failed. If there was some kind of interference, I just don't know. I've never had any issue like that before. And if you were disappointed as I was at the quality of that interview, I sincerely apologize. All right, everybody please take care. And I will talk with all of you later.